Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. And Ben, today is one of our very favorite shows. We've kind of made it an annual thing.
Yep.
The holidays are here, and we're out at ARUP Blood Services. We're in Sandy, the official address, if you want to punch it in, 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. But it's just the frontage road west of I-15. It's super easy to find.
Very easy.
The zone van is right out front. You can see it from a ways away. There's also a giant American flag. Is it directly above us pretty much, or right next door? Yeah.
The Utah flag right underneath it.
There is a Utah flag right underneath it. So it's super easy to find. So we're asking you, take a little time out of your day to come down here to donate blood, to save lives. They are very good at it, meaning that you're not going to be here all day. In fact, probably half an hour? Half an hour right now. So really easy to fit it in. And it's Friday, and it's the holidays. And you know what? There's not a boss out there who, if you said, hey, I just got to take a halfie to donate a little blood.
Yeah.
There's some cold-hearted bosses out there, but not like that. You know what I mean? Like that? Oh, yeah, Christian's gone.
not there. Yeah,
Christian, by the way, Hatch is filling in. Thank you to Hatch for being willing to do so. Always great when Christian goes to be in such capable hands. Christian is flown to Toronto with his wife and her parents.
He's on the run? He's on the lam?
No. They're going to the Eras Tour to Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay.
And by they, I mean not Christian.
His wife.
Yeah.
And his mother-in-law?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
He's just going to stand by the exit and wait for her throughout the concert.
He's got that energy.
A little bit, yeah.
Right? Like, sure, you can all carry you wherever you need to go and drop you off and pick you up.
Now, they probably,
what I'm saying is she's using him.
They probably paid the outrageous amount for the parking spots, which, by the way, is a thing. Like, we looked into getting a parking spot when we went to the Taylor, and it was like, oh.
It's a third ticket.
That's more than our lodging, so I don't. But I'm sure Christian did that, and he'll just be standing by the car. Do you think she got him a hat?
No.
Like a drive? Does he have to wear a blazer or something to look?
Oh, like a chauffeur?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you were talking about like memorabilia at the concert. No. Yeah. She got him a little chauffeur hat.
No. He probably told her, no, I'll bounce around town and see some of the sights.
She's like,
no,
stay
don't
close.
know. I don't know if that's a really good idea. We probably should get the parking spot and just have you there.
But come on down. ARUP, you donate blood, you get a $10 Megaplex gift card. You donate your platelets, $20 Amazon gift card, which A, is great ahead of the holidays, but B, they need blood ahead of the holidays. There's always injuries, people traveling, increased car accidents, et cetera, et cetera. Blood's really at a premium.
And you know what? The vibe around here is great.
Yeah, it is.
These people are not in this line of work because they don't like people. You know what I mean? What they do is really important. They're right on the ground level, and, they're happy to help.
And maybe you forgot to pack a lunch, and they'll always feed you after. There's always snacks to make sure you're feeling good after you donate. So if you forgot lunch, come donate some blood, get a Megaplex gift card, get a little food.
And a very comfy waiting room.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so ARUP Blood Services, that address again, 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. If it's more convenient, they have a location in Research Park as well, 565 Comus Drive in Research Park, if that's easier for you. But we are here in Sandy, so I would encourage everyone to come see us.
Also, a chance to win Jazz and Lakers tickets if you donate any point between now and the rest of the month, or Utes versus St. Mary's men's basketball.
Go see Bronny?
Yeah, get a chance to see Bronny play. They should just make him donate. They should have him donate. He's not doing anything on the bench. Plug him in.
I can't believe he doesn't go on the road with the G League team. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
It's too hard to travel. Anyways.
What isn't the excuse, too? He's too big of a celebrity?
Yeah. And they think he has more value traveling with the Lakers. But no, play. Go play. Got to get on the floor.
He's not good.
Correct.
he's not a good player. Before we launch into what we're doing today, we've got top three stories coming up here in a second because Mitch Harper going to jump on with us at 10:30, and then Steve Bartle, the one and only, at 11. So we'll get to that. But I want to know if the mystery of the sprinkler leak was solved yesterday or if it just was further frustration, because you're shaking your head like the frustration was really what. If you missed the show yesterday, Ben had a really rough morning. Oh, man, I had a rough morning.
Yeah.
And part of that was he's got a leak somewhere in his sprinkling system because he got a quite a large
$200 water bill. Because I was dumping 400 gallons a day.
You know what? If
1,400 gallons a day of water somewhere.
The Great Salt Lake is low this year. We know who to blame.
Which doesn't seem
Ben
possible.
Anderson's to blame here. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying. If the entire ecosystem of the Great Salt Lake is ruined because of low water this year, I know where to direct your ire.
No, I called the city back just to make sure I had all my dates right of when I started single-handedly sinking the state of Utah's water supply and when it turned off. And so it is turned off. So I'm no longer causing a problem. So I'm no longer going to have to pay for it at that rate, at least not after next month's bill, because there's still 19 days on next month's bill I have to pay for.
And your neighbor's house likely isn't going to slide down into the road.
Joe's house sits 2 feet lower than it did.
Just eroded the foundation
I'm
a
not
bit
going to
there.
tell him, though.
Yeah.
I saw some cracks in the foundation, too. But
Depending on which side of the house he's standing on, it leans. It just kind of goes back and forth.
He's not a listener, so it's cool.
No, Joe's cool. But so I have stopped the problem. I haven't solved the problem.
Okay.
So I will get a sprinkler guy out when it warms up to figure out what the issue is, and that will be easier than me frustrating. I've just put it off.
And then the best part about that is that sprinkler guy is the one who does the digging.
Correct.
Which is nice.
And it's fine. I will let him. So, no, I didn't fix it. Yes, I did look at it. No, I don't feel better about it. But I'm not hemorrhaging water.
If it's your sprinkling system, you can leave that until the spring.
Correct. Right. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost me any more money.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
And
it's got to
you're
get
not gonna
fixed. I will fix
further
it.
damage our delicate environment.
Not with water.
Oh, but the DDT or whatever you're using as a pesticide, that you're not going to vouch for that?
Well, I exclusively do wood-burning fireplaces.
What is that stuff called? Anyway, only wood burning?
Yeah.
That's not so bad if you do it on the green day.
I idle my car for 30 minutes before I get into it every day.
Who doesn't?
So it warms up.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Right. And it gets 9 miles to the gallon. So things are good.
And I'm a coal roller. All right, ARUP Blood Services. Let's get to the top 3 stories of the day. Brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. 2 locations to serve you. One on Winchester Street across from Fashion Place Mall. The other, Traverse Mountain in Lehigh. Ben, Christmas is coming, and you know what never misses?
Jewelry.
Jewelry. J. Brooks Jewelers. Make sure and check it out this holiday season. All right, Hatch in for Christian, who is getting the car prepped to drive over to the stadium for Taylor Swift. Jake Hatch is in. What's up, Hatch?
Not much, boys. All right, we're starting off number 1. The Utah Jazz fall in San Antonio.
Jazz up 16 at the half. Miserable third quarter. Lead by 4 going into the fourth, and then the fourth didn't get much better. And the Jazz fall to, 3-11 on the season now? They were actually jumped by the Toronto Raptors, who beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm always cautious about saying this. I don't think the Jazz tried to win that game.
Oh, I don't be cautious. They absolutely did not. I could lay you out some evidence, but I'm curious to hear why you.
Well, in the third quarter, the Jazz played a lineup that had Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, John Collins, and Drew Eubanks for an extended period of time. And they had some injuries. Mm-hmm. Jordan Clarkson wasn't out there, but Will Hardy tested some lineups last night at some critical points of the game. If he wanted to stop the Spurs from eating into the deficit, he probably could have. And he said, you know what, this is a developmental opportunity for our young guys. Let's play some lineups we've never played before. And the lead disappeared, and the Jazz lost the game. And they avoided sweeping the San Antonio Spurs on the road this season.
So, yeah, I think you're right about that, but I think there's only really one lineup and one time that you need to point to say, I don't think you were trying to win that game necessarily. And that would be the lineup that closed the game. Bryce Sensabaugh hasn't played since Trump was president the last time.
his first run.
And now he's closing the game. Isaiah Collier is closing the game. I don't know if you caught this, but did you see that, like, not that Colin Sexton was upset when he got pulled off the floor, but he did look a little like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait. And then he stood the rest of the game. Did you see that? And again, I don't think he was being demonstrative. I think he's just like...
He's intense.
He's an engaged, energetic kind of guy. And I was curious to hear what he said in the post-game. And his post-game comments were normal, calm.
He's a pro, yeah.
Like,
He's a
I
pro.
don't think he was necessarily upset about not finishing. But I do think he was like, no, that guy... That's the rookie second rounder.
Yeah, right. I'm Colin Sexton. Yeah, making $18 million a year.
Sensabaugh hasn't played forever, and he's all right. Colin Sexton would have finished the game if they tried to win it.
I agree.
There's no one in that building that would argue with that. So I don't think you should feel bashful about saying I don't necessarily think they were trying to win, because I don't think they were trying to win. You make an interesting point about some of the experimental lineups in the third quarter. Some of them went well, some of them didn't. I feel bad Kyle Filipowski went out with an ankle, but now that the NBA has seen him on tape, he's borderline unplayable.
Certainly he's not scoring as well.
There's a long way. There's a long way to go. There's a long way to go with all these guys. I think it's probably a good thing they leaned in to going young in the final minutes, because why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And if, you know what, Colin's going to be cool with it, then why not? Because that is a thing, by the way. Like those closing rotations,
yeah, of course.
and who's in, and it goes further than it's a point of pride thing. You know what I mean? And I think Colin contributes to the team, so you certainly don't want him to be disgruntled, I would say, but I don't think that's an issue. So why don't we go with it?
But with the Filipowski injury, the Jazz are now without Taylor Hendricks. We'll see when Walker Kessler can come back from his hip injury, and then we'll see how long Kyle's out. Will Hardy said they'd have to see when he wakes up in the morning how he's feeling to determine how quickly he gets back. But, you know, he is a depth player. He is somebody who you can put on the floor, and now you are down to Lowry, John Collins, and Drew Eubanks. You just don't have a lot of size right now.
Oh, dude, I am a fan of Uncle Drew.
Yeah, Drew's great.
I am a fan of that dude. He plays tough. That hook is absolutely effective. I know people want to giggle when they see it, but he's dropping hooks in everybody's face.
Yeah.
I like
More
that.
guys should shoot the hook shot.
I like that dude. And what do you bet me they trade him at the trade deadline for a nice something?
Second-round pick. Yeah, that's why you signed him. You signed him and Steve McKay-Luke to package together to get another second-round pick and whatever expiring contract someone wants to get rid of, or 2-year contract someone wants to get rid of, because they're playable depth. Because Drew Eubanks can play basketball. He's an NBA player, no question about it. I don't know if you play him in the playoffs, but for a team that is also dealing with a season-ending injury somewhere that needs a third big, fourth big, he's a very serviceable option.
I don't know why you couldn't play him in the play. If he can make his free throws and bang those hooks, he'd give you 20 minutes.
5 minutes, but yeah.
20. Yeah, that's a little much maybe. But he could contribute. Isn't it our guy Gordy Chiesa who always said, like, you know, if you get a player who can give you a great 3 minutes in the fourth quarter of a playoff game, he was worth his salary? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Drew Eubanks isn't going to lose the game for you in his 7 minutes on the floor, and that's fine.
What do you think about Uncle Drew? Has it been done before?
Should that nickname?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been used in the NBA ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Take Uncle Drew.
That sounds good.
No one will confuse him with anybody else.
Well, I think it sums up his game pretty well. Yeah. Like, he is like your Uncle Drew, who's down there at the 24-hour fitness banging hooks on the youngsters.
Not Kyrie Irving in makeup playing on the pickup courts as Uncle Drew.
Who?
Never heard of him.
No, Uncle Drew Eubanks, you're not getting it.
Number 2.
All right, number 2, the Big 12 championship game could be set this weekend.
If the Cougars are able to get the victory on the road at Arizona State, they will not have locked it up, but they're going to be front runners. But if Utah beats Iowa State and BYU wins, they have locked it up.
Awesome. This is going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, this is an awesome Big 12 weekend. This is the best Big 12 weekend so far this season.
JJ and Alex had does play-by-play. I don't know if he does football, but he used to work with KSL. They had him on. They had him on yesterday, and he estimated that it'll be like 60 to 65%. I think he said ASU fans, which meaning the leftover bunch, Ben,
Yeah.
are going to be Coug fans. And his explanation actually made a lot of sense. That the Coug fans bought these tickets 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Arizona State fans thought they were going to suck until
Right.
3 weeks ago.
Right.
So I kind of thought, with those prices and with Dilly begging everybody don't sell it to Coug fans or whatever, I thought, okay, well, we're going to still, they've electrified the Valley, or what did that guy say that we had on our guy yesterday? They've, the Valley. And I thought, it's not going to be as many Coug fans as I thought. But after I heard that, I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. All those folks down at Gilbert and Mesa or whatever,
right.
they've had this highlighted for a while.
Colorado can also clinch if BYU wins, if Utah wins, and then they beat Kansas. They're on the road at Kansas, which we know is going to be a very tough game as well.
Yeah, I don't think that's a layup.
No, and I think Iowa State's going to have a tough time against the Utes. Maybe I'm totally off, but I just think Utah's going to play well. I expect this game to be relatively close in the fourth quarter, and we'll see if Utah can do something they have not been able to do, which is close.
Well,
score points in the second half.
I thought the Utes would have been better last week.
You are a lesser believer in Colorado, though, than most people.
Agreed.
And I'm a lesser believer in Iowa State.
Yeah. But they were pretty bad against Colorado.
Yeah, but they're on the road. This is senior night. They have pride. They've lost 6 in a row. They've played close against BYU.
Isaac is hydrated. He's
not battling short-term mononucleosis. So,
we'll see.
I don't
think that's a thing.
That's what he had last week. But, I think this is going to be a fun weekend. And then having both BYU and Colorado playing simultaneously adds a lot of intrigue. So, good afternoon if you're a Big 12 fan tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think he has mono. You remember when Jimmer got mono in the middle of Jimmer Mania? Talk about bad timing.
Yeah.
I think it was his junior year, though, not his senior year. That sucks.
Never had it. You?
Mono?
Yeah. Cool.
Good times.
Neither of us were kissing.
But I don't think
Anyone in high school.
I don't think
it's pretty easy.
Isaac has it either.
No, he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. They would have kicked him out of the league.
He had he had a 102-degree temperature or something.
His mom said he had the flu.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Out there dealing against Iowa State. We will see. All right, Hatch, next.
Number 3, the Utah Hockey Club shutout in Beantown.
They lose 1-0. Vejmelka is doing what you want him to do. He's replaced Connor Ingram between the pipes, and 1 goal, you got to be able to win that game.
Yeah, he had 30 saves?
Yeah, he was great. No, honestly, he was great and was awesome against the power play early. Utah was in the penalty box the entire game. All game long. They were just, which meant they were skating slow, which meant they were tired. There were a lot of hooking penalties, just like a lot of bad play. And then the power play was better on defense, and they were able to limit Boston to 1 goal. Now Boston has the worst power play in the NHL. So again, these are the types of games if late in the season it doesn't feel like they're playing for much or they're not in contention for the playoffs. You're going to look back at some of these and just say, man, you gotta find ways to get the puck in the net, and they have not done it.
The Bear says they're in their own head, which is probably not good. Interesting for a coach kind of to acknowledge that they're in their own head, but I do think that's a thing in sports.
Yeah, absolutely. They are recognizing that they can't score, and it is starting to feed itself.
So they got to figure out a way to get out of that.
Yeah, and, clearly they can't because nobody could stop them from scoring early in the season. They have the talent to score goals, but they are just on a cold streak right now. They have scored a total of 4 goals in their last 3 games. And if you exclude their 4 goals against Carolina at home, which you can, it was a nice bounce back, they are 4 goals in 4 of their last 5 games total. So they are really, really playing poorly offensively. And again, it starts on these opportunities when you do have penalties and you're in the power play, you need to score. And they don't do it.
According to Ben, BYU is playing its 7th must-win game of the season. We will
You're going to win the Big 12. You got to win them all.
We're going to talk to Mitch Harper about that. He covers the Cougs for KSLSports.com. Coming up next. But we are live at ARUP, Blood Services. We're so excited to be here, of course. The holidays are coming up, 9786 South, 500 West, right here in Sandy. And when the holidays come, the demand for blood, unfortunately, spikes as well. And that's why we're so excited to be on board here at ARUP. And our buddy Mikey is jumping back on. It is good to see you, pal.
What
Thanks
it is,
for having
boys.
us. Hey, you're looking I got to say, you're not looking very holiday-y. You're looking much more vacation.
If you've seen the movie, Friday is Hawaiian shirt day, so go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, I got it. I wish I would have known. I love a good Hawaiian shirt.
Office Space, man.
Yeah.
I'm with you. One of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that might be a stretch.
I'm dressed for comfort today rather than.
I thought about drafting it for our rewatchables draft we did the other day.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
an easy
that would have been a good one.
Yeah.
All right. We always come down before the holidays, and it really is. I mean, it's always important to donate, but before the holidays is a really big deal because a lot of people are traveling, right? I mean, it's that simple.
It is, yeah. There's more. I mean, there's the obvious thing of there's more people out on the roads, so there's more accidents, more trauma victims in the hospital. But the other side you don't think about is that means so many more of our donors, our regular donors, are out vacationing.
Yeah.
They're on their way somewhere else. They're on their way to grandma's house out of state, and less people are taking the time to come and donate. But the usage of the hospital doesn't go down; it only goes up. So donations go down, usage goes up, and we have to put out the plea to please come donate some blood or platelets. Come help out.
You know what I love too, and not that I am particularly spiteful about other states necessarily, but it stays here. It stays in our community. If you want to directly help your community,
It does.
stays
Everything
here.
donated with ARUP stays here local. So it's not just going to some weird person out there somewhere. These are our own neighbors. It could be your cousins, your family. It could be your next door neighbor. We don't know who's going to end up needing it. But
That's why it's so important.
yes.
I don't know if you know this, Mikey, but Ben here, my co-host, has very generously decided to match anybody that donates today, pint for pint.
As many
He's
people
gonna
as
do
possible.
A pint for pint. So if you come in and donate during the show, we'll notch that for Ben, and he'll match it
He's going to owe. So everybody that comes to donate, Ben's going to have to make that many more donations
today. Yeah.
today.
Let's push it out.
Yeah,
We'll say we do this over.
Let's
You wanna-
spread this out because you can only safely do it about once every 2 months.
Listen, Mikey, he'll sign a waiver. It's fine. he knows.
Been eating
what
a lot
he's-
of iron
he
lately.
knows what he's getting himself into. So 12 people come through.
He's only got about 10 in him.
But honestly, for people who haven't donated before,
it's
it's a really easy process.
It is so easy. You come in, it only takes about a half an hour in and out the door. Bring a photo ID. It's important to be well hydrated. Maybe eat a good meal before you come. Just grab some lunch or eat some brunch, something tasty. But you come in, you donate. It's a little mini physical. It takes about 5 to 8 minutes tops with a needle in your arm. It's really quick. In and out the door, half an hour. Just get snacks. And you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, you do.
Sure do.
But it's also not like your flu shot that's going to make your arm hurt for the rest of the day. Like, really,
no.
you're going to have a little Band-Aid on your arm for a
Oh,
couple
no.
of hours, and you're done.
They'll wrap your arm with some Coban, and it's like that badge of pride. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, look, I donated.
It's easy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
cool. Yeah, absolutely. All right, come on by, and we have goodies for you. We have jazz stuff. We have we enter to win jazz tickets, right?
Jazz versus Lakers.
You get a Megaplex gift card. Everybody
right.
that comes to donate, you get a $10 Megaplex gift card. And we have other things going on, too. Lots
It's
of fun
easy.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's a Friday right there. Donate a little blood, hit the theater. That's
Entered into a drawing for, we've got some jazz tickets. We've got some Utah versus St. Mary's basketball tickets.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. All right,
drawing for?
9786 South, 500 West here in Sandy. Come on by and see us. If it's more convenient, they have a location in Research Park as well, 565 Comas Drive. Mikey, you're the best, dude. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out.
All right, we'll have more Jake and Ben. Mitch Harper joins us next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro.
You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing. Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
From ARUP Blood Services, 9786 South, 500 West, right here in Sandy, just west of I-15. It's very easy to get here. You can donate blood. They do it very quickly. You'll be here, maybe about a half an hour right now. They're good at what they do, Ben, and what they do is saving lives. And they need the help of the Jake and Ben listener.
Honestly, they do. Come on down and help.
9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. You can enter to win some jazz tickets. We've got goodies for you, Megaplex gift card.
You do get it. You don't have to enter to win the Megaplex gift card. You get it for sure.
Yeah.
So come on down.
What movies are out there right now?
Red one.
What's that?
The Rock.
Santa movie involving
okay,
Dwayne The
yeah.
Rock Johnson. That's all
I've
you
seen
need to know.
something about that. You know, the football player,
Dwayne
Johnson,
Yeah.
the Miami guy.
Yeah. That's all he's known for.
He acts.
He's dabbled.
He's an actor. I never would have guessed. Salty linebacker, though. Yeah, we're gonna talk to Mitch here in a second. Apparently, he is going through TSA at the moment, so he's going to join us from the airport. In fact, he is ready now. Covers BYU for KSLSports.com. He's the one and only Mitch Harper. What's up, Mitch?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Wait, so Mitch, you're currently at the airport right now.
I am. Just walked through the new B walkway. Very nice. Very much
I
big
feel
improvement.
like we should have Mitch say something loud and embarrassing. You know what I mean?
Mitch, you think
Like-
BYU's going to throw any long bombs this weekend?
No, that's not what I meant. Ben. Don't take it too far. I meant like we should have Mitch yell out like underwear or something, just to get everybody looking at him. You know what I mean?
Hey, Mitch, how does this Arizona State game stack up against BYU or against the Utah rivalry game and Kansas as far as the difficulty and importance of this game?
The importance is right up there with. I think it's at the top. You know, as far as the difficulty, I would maybe say that there's, you know, it could be a little bit less difficult than Utah from the standpoint of, I mean, that crowd at Rice Eccles was as intense as they come, and BYU has made it clear that they were rattled by that loud crowd at Rice Eccles Stadium, and you know, I think there's going to be quite a few BYU fans in Tempe. It's a sold-out crowd, but I mean, just looking at the airport, I mean, there's a lot of BYU fans coming through TSA heading down to Phoenix. So, you know, I think this is a very good matchup. You know, both teams are very similar. They play complementary football, and you know, I think BYU can bounce back. I look at this team and think that they could, you know, have the opportunity to, you know, get a big win here. They've been really good on the road, and you know, whereas Arizona State, they're not used to this national spotlight and having basically an entire market in Phoenix. They need to win to keep them interested. Where, you know, even talking to our sibling station, Arizona Sports, some of the people down there, and they're like, we haven't had this much Arizona State content in years. So they're actually fired up, but they know that they got to win to keep that interest. Whereas BYU, they know who they are. And, you know, BYU, I think, is a really good football team, and now they got to go kind of recapture who they were maybe in October and September and deliver that type of performance, and I think it could bode well for BYU tomorrow.
Mitch, they were good against the run against Kansas State, making them one-dimensional. They were bad against the run against Oklahoma State, and we're fortunate not to drop that one because they got run over a little bit. How do you think they're going to game plan for Cam Skattebo?
This will be an interesting matchup. I mean, Skattebo's the type that his receiving ability makes him as challenging of a threat as there is of the Big 12 running backs that BYU has faced to date. But, you know, I think that BYU did a really good job last week of setting the edge. I thought the defensive line in particular, kind of an underrated storyline because of the loss, but I thought Batty and Zay Banya, Logan Latui in the interior with John Nelson and Blake Mengelson, they were really stout. And BYU's relatively healthy there at that position. They've got pretty much all their key two-deep guys heading into this matchup along the defensive line. So I expect them to show up. I mean, BYU's defense is, you know, top 20 in a lot of national metrics and one of the best in the Big 12. Their defense will travel. And I expect, I mean, you're going to see Skattebo get probably at least, you know, 75, 80 yards and probably at least 30 through the receiving game, but don't let him have that big run. I think that's going to be the key for BYU in this game tomorrow is not letting him pop off the big ones. And if they force him to, you know, pick up little increments of yardage, I think that could bode well. I think BYU is up for the task.
Well, I'm not worried about BYU's defense, and they've not really ever shown a reason this year to be worried about the defense. But what about the offense, which has started to struggle and is not putting up the 30-plus points that they had through the first 7-8 weeks of the season?
They got to establish the run, and they got to turn early and often to L.J. Martin. And, you know, Martin had 15 carries a week ago, only 11 against Utah. But the 15 carries was notable when you consider that BYU only had 8 possessions last week. But this is the type of game where he needs to have 20 carries this should be an opportunity for BYU to, get things, back on track a little bit offensively. Coming into the last week, Arizona State, there were questions about their secondary and their cornerbacks, and then they had a 2-interception game against Kansas State. But still, that's an area where BYU maybe could attack, but also their run defense has given up some yardage too. I mean, 2 weeks ago against UCF in Tempe, UCF rolled in there and was a more physical football team and had success with R.J. Harvey. Now, I don't think L.J. Martin's on the level of R.J. Harvey yet, but, they believe that L.J. Martin could be a special player in this conference. And, I think he deserves the workload that kind of reflects that. And I think he needs a 20-carry night. And I think that could bode well because he's had some, in these lackluster offensive performances in his limited touches, he's had some big runs in both Kansas and the Utah games. And I think BYU needs to turn to him early and often in this one.
How big of a deal is it to have Connor Pay back?
Yeah, it's a big deal. And I think that BYU did a nice job with the snaps last week, compared to the Utah game where Bruce Mitchell clearly was rattled in that spot. And Bruce Mitchell did a really good job in replace of Connor Pay. Really, there wasn't much of a drop-off, surprisingly, when you consider how impactful Connor Pay is to this offense. He's almost like a coach to this scheme. But, that Utah game rattled Mitchell. And so it's good to have Pay back because he's not going to get fazed by the crowd noise or anything like that. I mean, he's a veteran and he's been used to this. I mean, even in that third down, or that fourth and 6 last week against Kansas, he was the one offensive lineman who didn't move. I mean, he should have probably got that snap off, but, it's been good to have Pay back there for BYU. And I think this offensive line's got to have a big game. They can't let, Retzlaff get hit. Roderick acknowledged that, Retzlaff got a little bit banged up in that Utah game. He took some big hits late in that one. Even in the Kansas game at the end of the first half, you saw the non-throwing arm. He was kind of shaking that off a little bit after a QB run. He's got to stay upright, and he's also got to be smart when he does run the football to not take any unnecessary hits because, he's still critical for BYU. I know that he's had some struggles as of late, but Retzlaff, when he is out there and he's been playing well, BYU is a really good offense, but he's got to get back to, what he was doing, earlier in the season as far as playing a lot more efficient because some of his throws the past couple of weeks have looked a lot more like Jake of last year, and he's got to be a little bit more accurate in the passing game too.
Being undefeated can be a real boon because, it can have a little bit of that magic and you've got the confidence, but also it can be a bit of an albatross if that's what you're trying to keep up is just this idea that you have to be undefeated to have a special season, which does not apply. You can still get to the Big 12 title game even with the loss. So how do you think BYU is going to react? Is it going to be a huge letdown that they let go of that undefeated record, or do you think it allows them to maybe play a little freer?
I think it'll allow them to play freer, honestly, and I think that the weight of carrying that undefeated record and a little bit of a letdown after the Utah game, I thought it just kind of came to a head a little bit, last week against Kansas. And I think BYU will respond. Kalani's typically pretty good in these spots with big games. BYU usually shows up pretty well, and they've been a really good road team this year. So I expect BYU to put their best product out there tomorrow against Arizona State. I think this will look a lot closer to the BYU team that we saw earlier in the season when they're, climbing up the rankings rather than just holding on for dear life. And I think, the whole undefeated piece too was it's difficult because you hate to see a loss because that this committee will ding BYU and pretty much any Big 12 team harder than any conference. Even, it seems like suddenly Boise State is way more respected than even BYU because they had a quality loss, and Boise's loss is better than BYU's loss, even though, they got a 91st ranked strength of schedule and BYU's is, kind of in the 30s right now. That's the only thing that's for BYU is, a little bit of a step back is that, losses happen in power conference football. It's very rare that anyone's escaping these schedules unscathed. And I think the Big 12's been a much better league than people give it credit for. Yeah, they don't have the juggernaut team of, the LSUs with Joe Burrow and those great Alabama teams in the past under Saban, but there's a really good football teams that every single week it's a toss-up, spread where it's a 3-point spread and it's a coin flip game. So this is really good football, and to navigate this at 9-1 BYU's a really battle-tested team and a good football team. Now they just got to kind of finish the job and look back and be that team that you saw earlier in the year once again.
I was going to ask you, Mitch, about kind of your vibe about this game, but I think you answered that a minute ago, talking about you feel like BYU is going to put its best foot forward. So my question then, I guess, is what does that look like? If BYU does exploit the matchups they can and things click for them, are we looking like 35 points? I mean, what type of game? What would that look like?
I think BYU gets to 30. I think that 31 points I think is in the cards for BYU in this one. And against both teams, can put up some points. And Arizona State's been again prone to give up points. I mean, they've had some close calls at home. That UCF game a couple weeks ago. With a fairly new quarterback for UCF with Dylan Risk. That interception that they had UCF, that was kind of a difference in that one in that game. But ASU's had some close calls this season at home. Now they're perfect at home. They always find a way to get it done. But I think BYU can get back to 30 points. And I think Arizona State will probably have some points too. I think it's going to be a close football game. I think BYU though ultimately comes out on top by a touchdown. I think 31-24 is kind of what I'm thinking, and it could be a game where the first one to 30 maybe wins this one.
Mitch, we thank you for your fine work and, of course, joining us on Fridays. Safe travels, buddy, and enjoy the game.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Dude, Ben, we're not trying to get Mitch arrested. We're trying to embarrass him.
You don't think getting him arrested is embarrassing?
Or something like that. We're trying to embarrass. Mitch
you don't think getting arrested is embarrassing?
We really like Mitch, but sometimes he's not – I don't want to call him a square per se because that's not the case. But sometimes it's funny when somebody with that personality type would yell underwear or something at an airport, not yell bomb to get arrested.
Oh, I don't.
Why does your mind automatically
go
there?
At all. I don't know why that's what you were thinking I was doing. I wouldn't do that.
Our BYU very serious beat writer is at the airport traveling to the game, talking on the phone. No, getting him arrested before the game is not. That's not the joke we were looking. I don't know why. I don't know why you're blowing this up. I don't know why your mind automatically goes there. That's a you problem. I'm a little worried about you. All right, we're live from ARUP Blood Services, and we encourage you to come and see us. Jeez, Ben.
I don't know what you're talking about.
1st and 12 Sundays. Catch it from 10 to noon. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. Come see us, 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Here's Derek Carr talking about the best football player he's seen.
Islam's the best football player I've ever played with.
He really is.
He can do everything. Throws, runs, catches, fullback, quarterback, tight end, receiver, slot, blocks punts, personal protector. That man is a Hall of Fame football player.
No higher praise than that right there. Derek Carr pumping up Taysom Hill.
This whole time, he's been wildly underutilized. He's a special athlete. There's few athletes to his ability. I would say Taysom Hill is the best athlete ever to come out of BYU football. Hill isn't even close to BYU's best quarterback. Not saying that.
That's a different thing.
You don't come across an athlete like that very often, I don't think.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Real quick, Ben, some breaking news coming from New York City. The Giants have cut Daniel Jones.
Yeah, they benched him in favor of Danny DeVito's kid and decided that...
With Rhea Perlman?
Yeah. He's about 4'9", but, man, he can sling it. Tommy DeVito?
Tommy
DeVito.
His name?
So they were going to play Daniel Jones the rest of the year. Now, Daniel Jones, again, we talked about this. In fact, we've got a little promo running right now. It talks about your long-term mistakes. You can survive a mistake. You just can't double down on your mistakes. You can survive a draft whiff. It happens all the time in the NFL. Nobody gets their first-rounders right every single time. But the Giants drafted Daniel Jones. He stunk, and then they paid him.
So it's so funny because you make such a great point. Think about this, Ben. All these NFL franchises get on the fence about paying these quarterbacks their second contract. think Kyler Murray, right? Daniel Jones, obviously, is a good example. And there are success stories, too,
Look,
obviously.
Kyler Murray's a success. He's playing great right now.
I still don't know if he's a guy. But, yeah, he's been fine. But the thing is, like, if you're going to – you should just cut him if you doubt, honestly. If you're really in doubt, you should just cut him there.
Trey Lance.
But if you
fine.
But if you do pay him, then you kind of got to ride or die with him. What you can't do is pay them and then panic and release them, taking a $40 million cap hit this year and a $20 million cap hit next year, and you're left with no cupboard whatsoever. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, you can't do both.
Like it's like signing Damian Lillard to that super max contract. Like, you knew what you were doing when you signed. Like, you can't really just panic trade him after you signed him to a 6-year, like, what was it, Ben? A $200 million contract or whatever it was.
If
you know
you're
going to
cut him, cut him. If you're going to pay him, play him.
Yeah.
But don't cut him or don't pay him and then cut him.
And then cut him. Yeah, that's like the worst case scenario. And you made a joke off the air that he could play for the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day, which is so hilarious. Like, did you read that they moved him to safety in practice? I wouldn't. You know what? I wouldn't cut him. Why do him a favor and release him?
We got to find something for you. Yeah, we got to find something for you to do out there.
So it's so hilarious that just poorly run franchises, which I do consider the Giants that. I know they've had
which has not
some
always
success,
been the case, but they have
been poorly run for a while now. I mean, it's just so funny the bizarre decisions. It's like you signed that guy to that huge extension. Now you're just going to panic cut him. You kind of made that decision.
It's 24.
And you should have just cut him then.
Yeah, right. You should have never paid him.
You should never have done it.
Yep.
You really, if you're on the fence, err toward the not paying him side. Because once you do pay him that much money, then you can't pay the rest of the team. And you've got to have a team that's built around a dynamic quarterback, which obviously Daniel Jones is not.
Right.
But isn't that funny where you make a decision, regret it immediately, and then back off that decision at the worst possible time? So funny.
We've all done it.
Have we?
Well, not to $200 million out of your pocket, hopefully.
Have we?
Yeah.
All right, we're at ARUP Blood Services. Make a good decision, and come do some good. Save a life, quite literally. 9786 South, 500 West, right here in Sandy. Our buddy Mikey is jumping on with us once again, and it's necessary to keep the blood supply and all that. It's necessary all year round. It's why you guys are open all the time, pretty much. Yep. But over the holidays, demand goes up, and sometimes people get busy.
Everybody's busy, and we get it. And that's why we're here 7 days a week. I mean, you can't make it down by 2:30 today when we close the day. We're open tomorrow. Come tomorrow, anytime between 7:30 and 2:30. We're here on Sunday if you can't get another day off. We're here 7 days a week. The only days that we close every year are Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day. Otherwise, we're here. And the thing is, the hospitals don't even close. They just use blood every day.
Right. Yeah.
So we need your help. We need you as soon as possible, honestly. Right now, we need all blood types. It's quite low on all types right now, and we especially need a lot of help with platelets. So if you've ever donated to platelets before or interested in giving it a try, please call us, and we'll get it all set up. We'll tell you how it all goes, and we'll get you in and donating.
But along those lines, it's like you don't need to know what your blood type is to come in and donate. Like, I didn't know what mine was. I figured out what it was. You guys actually, I called in, and you guys told me, like, oh, yeah, you're O positive or whatever. But it's like, you don't have to have all this information to come in. You fill out a brief survey. You sit down, you talk to the nurse really quickly, and you're out here. But you bring your phone, you can bring your laptop, you can watch a TV show. Like, it's super easy.
Oh, it's so easy. And you can actually even do the questionnaire at home now before you come. You can go to our website at utahblood.org, and you click on Express Pass. You can answer all the questions before you come. If you'd rather do it here, you can do it here. But we try to make it super easy. The whole point is just come. Just come.
Just do it. It'll go to good use no matter what.
And you're thinking about it now. You're like, oh, yeah, we're talking about it now. And it's like, I'll think about it. And then you put it off and you forget. Don't think about it. Just come.
Or some people think, I've got my kids this weekend, or you know what I mean. Bring the family down, right? Like, you can come do it with, maybe you've got your 18-year-old kids that are in town for the holidays. Bring them down.
16 and older. With the parents know, 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds can donate. You can just sign for them as you come, and you get snacks. You get tasty snacks.
It's easy,
but it's super easy. It's super fun. You feel very rewarding. If it's very rewarding, you feel good about yourself because you saved a life. And this is going for people that are spending the holidays in the hospital.
which is
So.
rough to begin with.
Right.
There's no doubt. I'm trying to decide what my favorite snack would be over there.
Oh, the Rice Krispie treats are probably good.
Yeah.
Lorna Doones are popular.
Lorna Doones are popular. Yeah, they are very.
Even something else that comes to mind, a lot of people always tell me is like, I came once and I got turned away. They didn't want me because of such an, sometimes things change, the criteria changes. Just come. If you have any questions, call us.
All right, UtahBlood.org.
Yep, UtahBlood.org.
Mentioned as well.
Or you can call us. We've got recruiters at 801-584-5272.
And 9786 South, 500 West here in Sandy. If you donate, you get a Megaplex gift card. We're also giving away some Jazz tickets, so you can enter to win those.
Jazz versus the Lakers.
There you go. Go see Bronny James. That's what I was saying. Go watch Bronny. Come up by, grab it. We've got some candies, too, and some cool Jazz stuff. So we'll hook you up. We'll make it worth your while. 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. Appreciate you, Mikey. Coming up next, Steve Bartle. Stay tuned. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jacob in 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Ethan Millard with Teton Wealth will be live in studio with Hans and Scotty today to help you with your retirement plan. Tune in or visit retireteton.com. We are live at ARUP Blood Services, 9786 South, 500 West, right here in Sandy. It's an easy way to help save lives in our community over the holidays. We love being here, Ben. We love helping out, and we need our listeners. So come on down if you get a chance and donate. It takes about a half hour. They're very good at what they do and very friendly. So come see us. You can get a Megaplex gift card, enter to win Jazz tickets, all sorts of freebies as well. So
go see Wicked. Get your Megaplex gift card. Go see Wicked.
I'm worried it's going to be bad.
I think it's gotten okay reviews.
Because most musicals I like that they make into movies, it's really bad. And I like Wicked. It's good. The Jersey Boys was terrible.
The movie?
Yeah, it was so bad.
I've not seen either.
Joining us now, he's a musical aficionado in his own right. He loves to donate blood and cover the University of Utah for KSLSports.com. He is our buddy Steve Bartle. What's up, Steve?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Jake and I are in a debate if we think Utah has quit on the season or not. Jake is of the belief that they might not be giving it their all anymore, and I kind of think they're going to give Iowa State a tough game. I think Utah has a real chance to win this game, and I don't know why. That might just be purely irrational thought, but it's a dying animal. There's going to be one last fight for Utah here. That's my guess. What have you sensed in practice so far this week?
Yeah, it's definitely been, it's been a tough season. I think there's no denying that. It's been tough, and when you go through an experience like this, losing 5 straight, 6 straight, it's going to take its toll. And yet I still think there's a lot of buy-in, particularly on that defensive side of the ball. Morgan Scalley's done a good job. Scalley, Shaw, Swan, Powell, Coach Ellis, those coaches have done a really good job of, maintaining the buy-in on that side of the ball. You still see, the good signs, the good play, the good moments on that side of the ball. Obviously, last week got away from them a little bit with, with Colorado and some of their skilled players and just the talent that they have over there in Colorado now. But there's still been a good amount of fight. And so, I think there's certainly instances of players that, it seems like have started to check out a little bit. I think that's fair to say. But for the most part, I still think this is a group that's, they want to get back in the win column, and I think we'll see another good effort on Saturday.
All right, Steve, tell me if I'm reading too much into things as usual, because I have a tendency to do that. I found it odd that Coach Witt this week was so open about talking about the next offensive coordinator and talk about other players that they're going to bring in through the transfer portal and recruiting. And I found it odd because it definitely is a departure from the one game at a time messaging that we are so familiar with. And I thought it was a little, I know they lose a lot of seniors and such, but isn't it a little early to be saying like, wow, I can't wait to replace everybody? I just thought it was odd.
Well, that's sort of just the nature of college football right now is messaging, is super important. And, with the 6-game losing streak, you can't talk about things from the same way you could before, the same manner. And I think, Utah's focused on moving forward, and obviously there's big events, big things that have to take place. They have to find an offensive coordinator. They're losing a number of seniors, and we'll have to replace a lot of them through the transfer portal. And so you want to get this messaging out now and make it clear, not only just generally to your fan base, but to potential portal targets, to potential candidates, that this process is going on. And so I think that's certainly the big reason why Whit was so forthcoming about these different topics, because they've got to get that message across. They've got to send messages to recruits that, hey, this is something that we're focused on. We're looking at making these changes. Here's sort of what we're looking for, and that sort of stuff. And I think too, even beyond the offensive coordinator position, but just how essentially how blunt he was about the landscape in college football with NIL and some of the money that Utah is competing against. Some of these programs have essentially quote unquote payrolls of upwards of $30 million. And when you have programs like Utah and other programs like that don't have that same type of budget, it's tough. And so it just he was very honest, and I thought it was really good in a lot of ways, just to kind of get a sense of where Utah is at, both within the program but also within the grander scheme of things, and just how difficult it can be right now to get things done, get things that you want, and that sort of thing. So I thought it was good for Whittingham to be so honest this week.
So when you are talking about hiring an offensive coordinator, is it better to hire somebody who brings a quarterback with them, and you kind of package those things together? Maybe this is just full pie in the sky, doesn't make any sense, like a Mike McCoy type of person who comes from the NFL and has some of that credibility working with guys and has ties to the program, obviously, in the past. Like, what makes sense for Utah going forward, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think ideally you bring in an offensive coordinator that is able to bring in a quarterback of his own, right? That would give you essentially a quarterback that has familiarity with an entirely new system. So at least you have that. I think that would be the most ideal situation. How many situations are there like that available to Utah? I don't know. And I think that's kind of the thing. But, in terms of just the big focus with the offensive coordinator position, I think what we learned this year is that, you can't have a complex system. You can't have an offense that, requires time, a lot of time spent in it, studying it, because there's so much to grasp. I think just with the way that college football has changed with the transfer portal and player movement, and them not sticking around with these programs as long as they used to, right? 3-4 years. Now it's 1, 2, maybe 3 years for a lot of these transfer guys. And so you need a system that, players can come in and can pick up right away. So in a lot of ways, it's got to be a simplified offense that you bring in. That could be, an NFL coach that comes in or has NFL experience that can simplify things. That could be an offensive coordinator or a young up-and-comer, from a lower level and that sort of thing. So, but I think the big priority for Utah moving forward is that, just a simplified offense that players can come in from the transfer portal and pick up, in an off season and have that. So, you don't have these instances of, Damian Alford, who came to Utah over the summer from Syracuse. He was lauded as a big time transfer pickup for Utah, but he gets here and he's not able to pick up the offense, at a level that would allow him to play consistently, just because there's so much to grasp. And that essentially negates, a big time investment. You spend time, you now spend money on these transfer portal additions. You need to see returns on them. And so I think that's going to be the big focus for Utah, is just finding an offense that, players can come in and you can essentially plug and play them right away. I think that's going to be the biggest change with what we see in the offense.
How do you think the Utes match up against Iowa State?
Honestly, on paper, they match up really well. It's just a matter of, Utah needing to go out and execute at a level offensively that they haven't shown. They've only shown glimpses of. But this Iowa State team, it's not a defense that gets a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They're last in the Big 12 conference in sacks. So you like that for what it means for, Isaac Wilson potentially having time in the pocket, which he hasn't had a lot of. They do play a lot of heavy coverage, cover 2, cover 3, some cover 6. And, Isaac, when you go back to that Colorado game on Saturday, he struggled for most of the day against man coverage because Colorado, they've got defensive backs that can match up really well with a lot of receivers, not just at Utah, but they play a lot of man coverage. And Isaac struggled in that second half when Isaac got going, orchestrated the 25 or 75-yard drive, and followed it up with a couple other good passes. He had a stretch there. Colorado transitioned to more zone coverage, and I think that showed where Isaac is at in terms of his comfort level identifying opportunities against zone rather than man, and how much better he is there. And I think Iowa State, they play a lot of zone coverage, and so you like the matchup there. Iowa State is also one of the worst teams in defending the run. They give up the most yards, or they're one of the last teams in the conference in terms of yards given up on the ground. So on paper, you like the way that this looks, the way that Utah matches up. But, Iowa State can certainly make adjustments to their game plan. We've seen that with programs like TCU, who, very similarly was not very good on defense coming into that Utah game, but made adjustments to be more aggressive, and that really hampered, Utah's offense. Defensively, this is going to be a tough test because Iowa State is balanced with Rocco Beck. He's a good quarterback. He's got 2 really good receivers, and they're committed to the run game. So this is going to be a pretty balanced effort for the Cyclones. But Utah's shown that they can match up with programs like this. You like Utah's ability to still kind of control the trenches and play tough up front. And then matching up with their receivers is going to be a challenge. But you can count on this defense to, I think, still give a good effort. The matchup offensively, it's all going to come down to how well does the offense execute, specifically that quarterback spot with Isaac Wilson.
Senior night tomorrow. You've covered this team for a long time. Who are the key seniors that you say? I mean, obviously, they recognize everybody, but the keys that you're looking at that they're going to recognize, and then maybe even some of the juniors who might be calling it a career at Utah.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a pretty emotional day. With Ty Jordan and Aaron Lowe, those are going to be 2 players that they recognize. This would have been their senior seasons at Utah. So, from that perspective, they're going to have both families there to honor them. And, that's going to be pretty emotional. You could feel that emotion when Junior Tafuna talked about him. He came to Utah in the same class as Ty Jordan, and you can still sense that impact that, players in that same class have in remembering those 2. So just from that point, it's going to be an emotional day. But there's a lot of guys on this team that have contributed to a lot of success, Utah, right? A Karene Reed, a Junior Tafuna, Mekhi Bernard. Those are going to be the big names that, have played significant roles for Utah over the years and have stepped up as leaders, over the last 2 seasons. And I think that's going to be the big thing is, just showing up for those guys, the guys that have been here for the years and for the success, for the downs as well. And then, I think everybody's curious to see if Cam and Brent are going to be there. I don't anticipate them being there given that they've already, walked before. And so, I don't anticipate them, walking because they've already done it, but maybe we see them tomorrow. I hope that we see them tomorrow. But we'll see. But this is going to be a big group. There's a lot of guys that, are walking, and so it's going to be a pretty lengthy ceremony, which is a good thing. And, these guys have done a lot to help Utah get to where they are now, and so it's always a big day. Senior day is always a big day for Utah.
And a 5:30 start, which is nice. Both local games actually starting at reasonable hours, which is certainly welcome. Steve Bartle covers the Utes for KSLSports.com, does a terrific job. We appreciate you, Steve, and thanks as always for jumping on, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Steve. Steve Bartle.
Along your lines of, are we going to see a Utah team that's fully engaged or one that has, given up on the season, so to say, I do think the fact that transfers are just so pertinent now and everyone is looking for their next job, that makes it more likely you have given up.
Is it weird, in my way reading into that, Ben, that they're talking about hiring coaches and recruiting transfers and stuff
with 2 games left to play?
2 games left to go.
Especially because you only play 12? Yeah.
Strange. If they were halfway decent, I'm just used to their messaging. It's 1 game at a time. They never talk about any of that stuff. I think it's weird. I think it sends a weird message to do it now, and especially like saying, oh, yeah, we're bringing in tons of new guys. I mean, how would you feel if you're an underclassman? You're like, oh, well, that's great.
All in or in the way was their thing, right? What was a Utah thing, right?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that's not how anyone talks anymore.
That's not really it.
Who's next?
Not with that messaging. I thought that was really strange that they'd be like, I mean, how would you feel if you were the current offensive coordinator?
Yeah, right, exactly. But Jakin's like, I thought
what?
I thought you were going to give me a chance at this.
Okay.
And actually, things have looked a little better since I've taken over. So
I've come up with a game plan. I don't know if I agree with that take necessarily, but yeah, I feel bad for him.
I thought Steve was really sharp and saying, you bring in somebody like Damian Alford and you invest NIL money into him, and you get a player who does not do what Andy Ludwig is asking. And by the way, that's not Damian Alford's fault. That's Andy Ludwig's fault. If you're recruiting players who can't do what you need them to do, don't recruit them. But if you're donating time and financial assets to get that player to come to your school and then you can't use him, what an enormous waste. What a huge waste of assets and resources.
He probably didn't think that going in all fairness.
Andy Ludwig?
Yeah,
of course he didn't. No, of course he thought it was going to be a guy.
Their end of the bargain,
but
too.
You got to know, why is this guy leaving Syracuse? Why is he available? And if they say he won't read the playbook, or he can't read the playbook, or he doesn't know what's being asked of him, that's why he couldn't play at Syracuse either, you've got to be on top of that. And I do think that matches some of the criticism that has been there for Andy Ludwig, that not that he's aloof, but that he's just kind of just around. And I don't, Morgan Scalley's not going out and getting a guy who doesn't know what's going to be asked of him. Can you imagine that?
I would bet Morgan's had plenty of those. I don't necessarily all the way disagree, but I do think it's a little unfair. You know how many kids were in the transfer portal last year?
Yeah,
it's
thousands. Yeah, it is.
And so, NBA teams can't make proper evaluations in the draft when they're examining a couple dozen players, and they have years to do it. I mean, the way the transfer portal works is like you're going to have to take flyers on dudes that you know nothing about. Absolutely
but that's
zero.
not taking a flyer on a guy. If you're investing resources, I mean, he was supposed to be one of the top 2 or 3 guys coming in on Utah's offense this year.
You're going to call the coaches of the other team, and you can't agree. You can't believe anything they say. I mean, I just think you're going to see situations where the player doesn't hold up their end because they weren't that good to begin with. And the team has to make snap decisions on players that they know nothing about. And you know what? We've talked about this for years when all of a sudden USC recruits a player. Well, then they get automatically another star. And then all these other teams just feed in sight unseen and say, well, offer this guy if USC's offering him. I mean, my gosh. And now it's the same thing with NIL, I'm sure. I'm sure they were like, oh, well, this other team's offering him $100,000 or whatever. I mean, obviously he's worth it, and we need to overbid. I do think it's foolish behavior, sure, but I think the system lends itself to that.
It does. You need to do a better job within the system then.
Yeah,
and I don't think Andy Ludwig did.
That's harder than I think you're implying is my point.
No, I agree. It's not a science. It's not something you can replicate perfectly every time, but you realize what a lost asset that is if you're investing time and money in these players who can't simply do something as what Steve laid out, which is understand what's being asked of him in the playbook. That's a huge whiff. That's a huge. And look, Damian Alford's not the reason Utah's 4-6 right now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you're going to have an offense that you want to click and you want to have an ability to move the ball at all, which Utah has the worst offense in the Big 12, you can't have those types of problems.
Well, you can
if you want to be 4-6.
Yeah, or what do you have to do to overcome them? Obviously, they haven't,
and they didn't do it.
All right, we're live here at ARUP Blood Services, 9786 South, 500 West. We're right here in Sandy. Our buddy Mikey is joining us once again. And, Mikey, we're just trying to get the word out. The need is there. The holidays are here, and we need people to come down and donate.
It's time to come donate. If you only donate one time this year, so you haven't donated all year, you're only going to donate one time this year, this is the time to do it. It really is.
We've talked a lot about blood. What's the difference with platelets? I actually haven't donated platelets.
So platelets are the cells in your blood responsible for clotting, for healing. They use those for victims of traumatic injuries, any kind of major organ surgery, heart surgeries. Cancer patients use a lot. In fact, most of what we collect actually goes to Huntsman Cancer Hospital for a lot of patients up there. But the need for platelets is rougher. It takes about 2 hours to donate, so a lot of people are kind of turned off by that. But we've got Netflix, we got Hulu, you get snacks.
$20 Amazon gift card.
Kind of pamper. Yeah, you get a $20 Amazon just for coming in and giving it a shot. And it's not good for every blood type. If you're O negative, we want you to keep doing whole blood. But every other type, call us. We'll talk to you about it. We'll get you in and get you donating platelets. It's so much fun. And you can donate a lot more frequently, every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I love your guys' location, too, because you're right off the freeway, multiple exits. It's super easy to get to. It's in the middle of the valley.
Yeah.
People can get down here in a few minutes and get it done, so it doesn't have to take all day.
Yep, we're here in Sandy, 9786 South, 500 West. We have another one up in Research Park, close to the U of U, if you're up in that end of the valley. And, 7 days a week, both locations.
We'll get you in and get you out.
Yep.
And go to save a life. That's easy.
Yeah. That's all it is. That's all it takes to save a life. It doesn't cost you anything, just a little bit of time. It's not even that much discomfort either.
And you're right about the feel good. That's
oh my gosh.
Part.
Yeah. Nobody ever walks out here saying, "Man, that was terrible."
No.
You walk out feeling gold. Like you're solid gold.
I helped somebody today. Yeah, that's
absolutely
pretty awesome. All right, 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. Ben is doing a pint for pint match, but Mikey has said that might not be safe, so we're still looking into that.
Honestly, can you donate platelets and blood at the same time?
No, you can donate one or the other.
Okay.
With regular blood donation, it takes about 2 months before your body replaces what we take. With platelets, your body replaces much quicker.
Really quick.
Yeah.
All right, come on down and see us, 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. We'll have more next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
You eliminate that fade throw that has become the bane of everybody's existence, and you take away the quick kick that bounced off the helmet. You still win that game with 13, 14 points. The stupidest thing I've ever seen in all of football, to have a quick kick go off somebody's helmet. And for them to not even really try to cover it because they're like, yes, our ball, jogging off to the sideline like, hell yeah, I had that go route covered. There was no step in between.
I'm on him like glue, Coach.
He comes off high-fiving Gennaro Guilford like, yeah, what do you say, Coach? Damn right, not going to get a step on me.
No fly zone, am I right?
Johnson Island, they tried to get on it. Wasn't happening. That's how stupid that quick kick situation was.
I know.
And you lost the game on that.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob in 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, live from ARUP Blood Services. We're so excited to be down here, 9786 South, 500 West, trying to do a little good around the holidays, help save some lives. But we need you to come down and help us out. You can get a Megaplex gift card. You can enter to win jazz tickets. We've got cool jazz stuff for you. We've got some treats as well. We'll make it worth your while for coming in and doing the right thing.
Do you like the super snowy football game? Did you watch the
I did.
end of the Thursday night game?
It's entertaining for a second until you realize it's terrible television because you can't see what's going on. And none of the players can do anything.
They really can't.
They
That's
can't,
the one thing that I guess is I love it. I love watching it. I don't care that I can't see it. But, when you literally can't catch the football because
or plant
you
or
can't
run,
see it
or
right. You can't run. You can't
cut.
stop.
How do you block? How do you dig your feet in to block? Or if you're a D lineman, how do you get any push? So if you actually watch the line play, that both sides just stood up.
Yeah, right.
Every play, they just stood up because what are you
skilled players
what are you
decide
supposed
this
to
one.
do?
No, I do love it. I really had fun after the Jazz game last night, switching over and watching the last 7-8 minutes or whatever. And good for Cleveland, they played well to get that win over Pittsburgh.
I
but
don't know if I'd say they played well, but yeah, they won.
They won. Yeah, it's hard to beat Pittsburgh. No one else has been able to do it. I mean, they just beat the Ravens. So that was a nice victory for the Browns and Jameis Winston. But those games are fun.
I thought Rusty was had it in the bag.
Well, I mean, they came back and looked like they had an opportunity to win it. I mean, they were down big in the fourth.
Yeah, Jameis threw an interception and then had a fumble, right?
So, But I thought it was a fun game, and I do like those games, even though you're right. It's not a traditional skill-on-skill game.
No, it's throw everything out the window. It's whoever can hang on to the icy ball or who makes an extra step without slipping.
And I'm sure, I'm sure everyone's always done with football when they play it at that level. You're competitive, but like you're ready for the game to end because it's not fun to play. And then in that game, where you're just like, all right, let's get to next week, whatever.
I would have them put on like the Ty Cobb spikes or something.
Go deep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like really. You know those old track and field shoes you used to see with the like literal spikes on them?
Yeah.
I want some of those. I don't know if they regulate that
I don't
sort
think
of
you
thing,
can do that
but
anymore.
no. But because you could really step on somebody's foot.
Yeah. That's why you want them.
That could really hurt. Yeah, exactly. That is why I would want them.
Stepped on your hand.
I mean,
oops.
I just ran this cleat right through your foot. How's that feel? Probably hurts.
Your Knicks are in town tomorrow.
My Knicks?
Yeah, your Knicks.
My Knicks, yeah. Well, that's great.
You're going to see 40 minutes of all their players because they've got a lot of injuries, so they do have to play everyone.
They're going to play everyone the whole game? Who's out?
Well, Mitch Robinson's hurt. And who else is there? I mean, they just kind of they didn't have much depth in the first place, and then they just have not had a lot of healthy bodies
Cat
as far as
will
their
be
second
out
units.
there looking soft.
Cat's playing 40 minutes a night. Josh Hart plays 40 minutes a night. Mikal Bridges plays 40 minutes a night. Jalen Brunson plays 40 minutes. Like honestly, you're going to see they're going to give the Jazz everything they have the whole game.
That's incredible that he
gets away with it.
Well, that he has the rep for doing it and just does that.
Keeps doing it.
Like we're going to grind these guys out, but you know what? I'm going to get an extra 5 regular season wins because of it.
Yeah, I mean, he honestly plays like 8 guys total. You know, even this early in the season, he plays a playoff rotation throughout the entire year. And yeah, they win extra games as a result, but you know, OG Anunoby is not going to be healthy by the end of the season.
Do you think that trade will work out for either team, either Minnesota or New York?
The Julius Randle Cat.
Not meaning like all of a sudden they get a championship. I mean just like work. Like somebody comes away saying like, oh, yeah, that trade really worked out.
It is working out less for Minnesota than it is New York. And I understand that they traded for Julius Randle in Minnesota to preserve some financial flexibility, and that was the hope, and you could retool around Ant. I still have never seen a free agent sign in Minnesota. And even if you have Anthony Edwards, I'm not sure that that's going to draw a bunch of people to go live in one of the coldest cities in the NBA.
Well, they illegally signed Joe Smith at one time.
They did, and they lost their draft picks as a result. I mean, they had Kevin Garnett, and people weren't going to sign there. Yeah, I mean, you overpaid a very damaged Latrell Sprewell and a guy in Sam Cassell that people thought was at the end of his run. And because KG was so good, he resurrected them. And even then, Spree passed on a huge contract to take a mistakenly minimum contract elsewhere and never really got that money back. But I think that's going to hurt them. I don't think they got a great return. They just wanted the financial flexibility, and I don't think it's going to do it.
Did you see Rudy's 3-second call?
I did. That's part of it.
Oh, I tell you what, this is what I don't miss about covering Rudy.
Do you want to explain
Gobert.
what happened?
So Rudy pinned his guy. Basically, he wasn't under the hoop, but pretty close, and was calling for the ball.
Julius Randle had it at the top of the three-point line.
And he did not throw it to Rudy.
Looked him off.
And so Rudy put his head down and pouted, walking out of the key, and got called for 3 seconds.
Like late in the game, right?
If he would have just bounced out of the key, said, "Oh, he didn't get me. All right, I'm bouncing out of the key."
Or Julius Randle has a plan, and he's one of the better offensive players in the NBA.
Right.
I should trust that.
And I'm sorry, but Rudy finishing with a guy, I don't care how far his guy's pinned under the hoop. Rudy stinks at finishing.
It doesn't matter if it's
when
a point
there's
guard.
a guy between he and the basket. He's so bad
It
at it.
wouldn't have mattered if it was Jakob Poeltl. It doesn't matter. Yeah, he's not. It doesn't matter who's guarding him. He's not good at it.
He never has figured out how to run over the guy in front of him and just dunk it. He never did it in Utah. I could never figure it out why. But why would you throw that pass when he's just going to make the Sports Center all not top 10 and probably end up at the free throw line to go 1 for 2? You know what I mean?
And also, you know what? Julius Randle's not the guy who's going to throw that pass either. Julius Randle passes for assists. He doesn't pass for, hey, let's set up the offense.
I've never loved Randle. I've never loved Cat. I see this as one of those non-impactful trades that we think is a big deal and really doesn't change.
Might be a lose-lose.
It doesn't change either team for the better. And both teams will end up just waiting out their contracts or trading them again.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because Cat doesn't fix what was lacking with New York last year. I like the Bridges deal for New York way more than I like the Cat deal.
And he's only been okay.
And they gave up way too much for Bridges.
Yeah, they did.
I was talking to Eric about this last night, New York guy.
Last worked for the Eric who was doing the pre-half and post with you.
Yeah, who writes for UtahJazz.com. Grew up in New York, worked for the Nets, but obviously follows the Knicks closely. And he was like, oh, man, they gave up way too much for Bridges, even though Bridges is great.
But 6 first-round picks is a lot. it's a hefty price to pay for a guy who does not guarantee you a title.
Who doesn't get you over the top necessarily.
I mean, that's a Giannis package. You give up 6 firsts for Giannis and good players, and they didn't give up a lot of good players to get it. But, yeah, they cashed in all their chips this offseason in New York, who the Jazz are going to see tomorrow at 3 p.m., to get Cat and to get Mikal Bridges. And they don't have depth, and they're still a flawed team. They're terrible defensively because Cat's a terrible defensive player.
Well, but if you play him 40 minutes.
Then you get 40 minutes of bad defense.
Yeah, you sure do.
Instead of 36.
He's if he were a little tougher, he'd be awesome.
Yeah, because he's truly a great offensive player. He's a he's a better offensive player than Lauri Markkanen. And he's that kind of, he's not quite that fluid as a mover, but he is effective like that. And you see how awesome those guys are. But he is so bad defensively, and because he can basically only play center, where Lowry's great because you can play him the 3, the 4, or the 5 for stretches, you can kind of mask some of those things. It's really hard to mask a guy who can't defend the rim at all.
Okay, stop using the word can't.
Okay.
Because that's not the case. I got frustrated with this over years of covering Carlos Boozer, realizing that he's never going to be Hakeem Olajuwon. But won't.
Yeah.
But won't do the hard things and put in the effort to be effective on that side of the ball.
You're
which
right,
is
that's
just
fair.
Absolutely maddening.
That's fair.
But to say can't, and I'm not saying you per se, but to say can't lets him off the hook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like saying Damian Lillard can't play defense. Sure he could.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not going to be Gary Payton, but
he can do more than nothing.
You can't tell. Okay, if we look at defenders as net positive or net negative in the NBA, just file them into those two categories. You can't tell me that Dame couldn't be a net positive on defense.
Well, I mean, if
that athletic and that he's a good sized, it's not like he's undersized.
If Jokic can become a serviceable, passable defensive center,
a net positive
then
defensive
anybody
center.
can.
With a little effort.
Yeah, with a little effort. And, that's why Jokic is Jokic. That's why he's the best player in the world. He's continues to get better and wants to get better.
Well, I'll tell you the best thing I've seen Filipowski do this year. And it's I can't even remember who it was, but he ate an elbow right in the face and still dunked it. I don't care about his passing. I don't care about a 3 that he's made. I don't care about anything else. I care about the guy ate an elbow right to the jaw and still dunked it in his face.
Alex Len.
It was Alex Len. You're right. I mean,
Kings, yeah.
like an elbow that nearly took off his face. And did he cry about it afterwards or do anything? No, he just dunked it and shot his free throw.
Yeah, mouthed off about him after.
That's the best thing I've seen him do because you know who's not going to eat an elbow and still dunk it? Karl Anthony Towns. He's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't have any interest in doing it, and he's not going to do it.
Toughness matters.
It matters.
Yeah, it does.
NBA is still a contact sport.
Yeah.
And if Filipowski's tough, that will stick him in the league. Walker Kessler needed to develop a little toughness. I think part of the optimism around him at the beginning of the year is it's the rebounds for the reason that we're talking about.
Yeah, he's playing tough.
He's going out in there and digging out rebounds against the toughest, biggest players in the league.
Yeah.
Like, that says a lot. You know who's not doing that? Karl Anthony Towns.
Right. And he's shooting great. Yeah, he's having a great offensive season, but we know he's a great offensive player. For the Knicks to win a title or be contenders, they do need to have some of that toughness.
Anthony Davis would be a way better player if he was tougher. And I think he is tougher than Cat.
Yeah.
But it's a red flag when these centers come into the league and say, oh, yeah, I don't really want to play center.
Yeah.
No, Remember when New Orleans traded for DeMarcus Cousins because Anthony Davis so desperately didn't want to play tough? Mm-hmm. So they traded for the most damaged guy in the league? Here you go. That's a red flag, I think.
It is. I agree with you.
I haven't heard Filipowski saying, "Nah, dude, I'm a wing." I think that's a good sign.
No, he's a tough guy. He's a punk in a good way. It's what you want to have on your team.
So I'm pretty curious to see Cat, but you know what's the most surprising thing about that is that Tom Thibodeau signed off on a trade for him, considering the bad experience that he had with Cat.
Coached him previously
in Minnesota. I mean, even if they didn't have a bad experience, like personally, like the results weren't there. Like it was a bad experience. Oh, well.
Might work for us.
I mean, it's expensive for them to still go out in the first or second round, but, good times.
Yeah.
Which they're not going to beat Boston.
Yeah.
At this point, I wouldn't pick them over Cleveland.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't beat Cleveland right now.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see him in person, though, Ben. That's for sure.
And I like a midday Saturday game.
Your Knicks are in town. You're excited about it.
Generally, they play these Friday and Saturday games at 7:30. This game's up at 3, which is great.
All right, we'll wrap up the show coming up right around the corner. We are live from ARUP Blood Services. Come by and donate 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. They'll hook you up with a Megaplex gift card so you can go see a movie. We've got snacks and treats. We've got some jazz stuff. And you're entered to win Utah Jazz LA Lakers tickets. Go see Bronny James when he comes to town to play against the Jazz.
He might not play. LeBron might not be here. Bronny might not play. But the Lakers are good. They're fun.
But don't. I'm trying to generate a little enthusiasm for the promotion.
You can yell at Bronny James.
Would you get on board for crying out loud?
Come heckle Bronny James for not playing.
Do you really have to just pour cold water all over the incentive to come in? I mean, Bronny James he's a draw, dude.
See Dalton Connect.
Come by, donate blood, 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
I'm worried about Jake Retzlaff throwing the non-fade fade that we've now seen 2 weeks in a row that end in an interception. And why wouldn't it? He threw it straight to the defender 2 weeks in a row. You've got to do better than that. Got to take care of the football. That was the difference in the game. Not the ball off the helmet. The stuff you can help has to be buttoned up if you're going to be a college football playoff team. In fact, by the way, may you never speak of the college football playoff until you get yourself into the Big 12 championship game. The college football playoff, don't want to hear about it. There's a lot of stuff that has to get buttoned up for BYU before they can put themselves in the situation where they're going to be playing Coach Prime in the Big 12 championship game in Arlington. Arizona State is now become the biggest game on their schedule as you can imagine. The 16th team in the preseason poll versus the 13th team in the preseason poll. One is 9-1 and the other is 8-2. What a phenomenal thing football is.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This segment is brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255. Peach Doors and Windows. We'll talk to our buddy Mikey here at ARUP Blood Services in just a moment. But there is some news, Ben. I wouldn't call this breaking because it came out probably about an hour ago. But former Utah State University football coach Blake Anderson has formally filed a civil lawsuit in First District Court against his former employer, requesting $15 million in damages related to 4 cases, including breach of contract and defamation, which has, quote, caused him significant damages and reputational harm, unquote, according to the complaint. Now, Anderson, this is not necessarily new news other than it's official. It was interesting reading through this, Ben, how he said he's tried to get multiple jobs.
Yep.
He said he even thought he had one where he'd be a consultant and not be out there publicly. And this whole thing with Utah State has prevented him from getting that work. And actually, this is a really drastic thing, Ben. This is actually a really important story because, listen, coaches get fired and go away disgruntled all the time.
Yep.
You know what you don't do? You don't sue the university because then you don't get another job ever.
Right.
And so for him to actually go through with it and sue the university, I mean, this is really an all or nothing play for Coach Anderson, which good for him. I mean, if he truly has been defamed, I don't blame anybody for taking that action. But, I mean, this is if he wins, you know, he's $15 million dollars richer and has his rep back. But if he loses, he's never going to coach again.
I think he has actually done a pretty good job in this whole process of not making his reputation worse. When you get fired as a coach, especially when it's not necessarily for results on the field, yeah, it gets really hard to get back into coaching. And I think he's done a good job so far. And I think he can probably accurately point to saying, hey, I've been told by a lot of people that let's see how this all settles and then we'll call you back. You know, maybe you're the right guy for the job, but we got to wait for this stuff to Utah State to settle, and then we'll hire you. I didn't know if he would work again. I think he will. I think he is going to work again, and I think he's going to get money out of Utah State as well.
Well, he's not if he is going to work again. I think his point, the reason he's suing for this is
I think he can do both.
He's been defamed.
I think he's going to be able to do both. He's going to be back in coaching, and he can still get some money here. I don't think it's one or the other.
But he has to prove that it damaged his opportunity in employment. That's part of the lawsuit.
No, absolutely, and he can do that. He
if-
can say, absolutely, I sat down with people and interviewed and thought I had a job, and they told me, let's wait until this gets resolved at Utah State. I mean, that's exactly what he can go and tell them.
That's
and
not
if
what
there
he
is
said.
somebody,
That's not what he said in the lawsuit. He has to say in the lawsuit, "I can't get another job," or else he doesn't get paid. That's the connection that's there. So
he can never work again?
No. I'm sure he can, but his point, he has to prove that he can't get hired
right now.
Right now, I mean,
Yeah, right,
like,
exactly.
He has to prove that the damage that they've done to his reputation
Makes him
is-
unhireable at the moment.
That's where I mean, you keep saying at the moment. He's not going to say at the moment. He's going to say you've ruined my career,
correct?
And you owe me $15 because $15 million because you've ruined my career. So, if Utah State can say, well, Ben Anderson's right, and it's for the moment, and you did your own damage to your reputation. That's not our fault, but it didn't ruin your career. Well, then he doesn't have a case, and it's out.
I don't think it's ruined his career.
I think it might have ruined his career.
I think it certainly damaged him. It's damaged his career unquestionably. He
I
was a
don't-
head coach in college football. I think he will work again.
I don't think he makes the suit unless it's ruined his career. I mean, Define worked again, too. I mean, would Skyline a high school coach?
No, he will
now?
work in college
Like,
again. He will get a college coaching job
and
again.
NAIA is definitely different from a D1 school. I mean, well, I don't think so. Not with the feds were involved in investigating it, all this stuff.
But some of that stuff came before him. I mean, that
The
was the
way that-
DOJ that was already involved at Utah State that he walked into.
I know,
He didn't bring that in himself.
Okay, and he can say that till he's blue in the face. But with the culture on university campuses today and having that attached to you, I don't think he does work. I don't think he does have a career. I really don't.
But the most
I think that's why he's doing
the most important culture on campus, unfortunately, is winning, and I think he can help a team win. And I'm not saying it's unfortunate for him. He may have been wrongfully terminated. I don't know. I've read the lawsuit. I've read his part of it. I've read Bovey's part of it. I've read Sable's part of it. I get it. I've read it all. I don't know. I will be curious, obviously, how these lawsuits work out. But I suspect he's going to work again. I think he's done a good job maintaining or at least partially rebuilding his reputation while going through this.
9786 South, 500 West, that is where we are and have been. ARUP Blood Services. We're trying to help do some good this holiday season, save some lives. Our buddy Mikey has been hanging out with us the whole show. And, Mikey, honestly, we can't thank you enough for
thank
having
you.
us. No, you guys do such amazing work, and it's so cool to be a very small part of it. It's awesome.
Well, awesome. And that's the best thing about donating blood is you are a small part of saving somebody's life. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a medical professional. You just come, you donate blood. It takes a half an hour, and you're saving a life. That's like superhero stuff.
It is like superhero stuff. 1,000%. I'm going to come in wearing a cape.
We should give out capes.
Yeah, you should.
Really. Super.
We'll do T-shirts. We do get movie gift cards. We should do capes someday.
You just saved a life today.
That's
Here's
right.
your cape.
Do a hero pose.
And you know what the cool thing is? I mean, yes, you get the $10 Megaplex gift card.
Sure.
You get entered to win Jazz Lakers tickets. You get entered to win Utah St. Mary's tickets. Like, all that stuff is great.
Yeah.
The feeling you have walking out the door is cool. And knowing that, hey, 6 weeks from now or 8 weeks, I can come back and I can help again. Or if I'm doing platelets, it's a couple of weeks.
Right.
But, like, you can build this as a part of your reputation, part of your identity, and know that, hey, I can help my community, and it doesn't take a lot more than a half hour.
And it doesn't cost you a dime.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to donate to charity. Come donate blood.
Yep.
It's easy.
And impactful, right away.
Very impactful.
Yeah, I mean,
very impactful. One of the nice things we get a lot of people don't know is when you donate blood with us, when it gets used, we give you a call and say, hey, yesterday the blood you donated was used to save a life. And
that's pretty cool.
It's really
and
cool.
people love it because, it's self-validating and, just to know that you actually saved somebody, you made an impact on the world, that's amazing.
This sounds weird, but is it cool to work here? Do you bound home going like, I did some good today, man?
Absolutely.
It's gotta feel pretty
Absolutely.
good, right? Yeah, I bet it does. 9786 South, 500 West here in Sandy. You heard all that good stuff Ben mentioned, but yeah, you're right. The feeling you walk away with knowing you saved a life is the best part. 9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. You guys are open 7 days a week.
7 days a week. We're closed Thanksgiving Day. We're closed Christmas Day. But otherwise,
That's
this is
it.
the time of year. Like I said before, if you're only donate one time a year, this is the time.
9786 South, 500 West in Sandy. And honestly, if it's more convenient, location in Research Park, 565 Comus Drive up there by the U. Again, Mikey, we can't thank you enough for having us, buddy. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have Hans and Scotty G coming up next. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Thanks, Hatch.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.